want some magic powers. Magic powers for absolutely free.
Way to unclose the circuit of magic, madness, and sadness.
Gunther, no!
Gunther, no?
Gunther, no! Gunther, no! Heck yeah!
Wait!
Why did Ooo, out of all the worlds and timelines we see in Adventure Time, become the most magical? And was it all worth it? Because this isn't just a land with a few wizards or enchanted objects. Ooo feels drenched in magic. Spells, artifacts, cosmic beings, kingdoms literally powered by elemental forces. Magic isn't a side detail here. It's everywhere, shaping the world and everyone in it. Now, sure, there are other dimensions that are stranger. The Nightosphere runs on pure chaos. The Crystal Dimension bends reality in bizarre ways. And Prismo's time room is basically a cosmic loophole. But Ooo is different. Ooo is Earth. It's a place where regular people live, grow up, and survive, surrounded at every turn by magic that feels inevitable. So that's the mystery. Out of all the versions of Earth we've seen, farm world, pre-war civilization, alternate timelines, why did this one erupt with so much magic?
This way.
Magic didn't start with the Mushroom War. It's been there all along. Long before the Mushroom War, magic already had a foothold on Earth. We see it in ancient figures like Evergreen, who forged the Ice Crown thousands of years ago. We see it in the elementals: fire, ice, slime, and candy, forces of nature so old they're described as being tied to life itself. But here's the twist.
What?
Even they admit their power hasn't been steady. Patient St. Pim outright says there were times when magic grew weaker, when the world felt almost non-magical compared to now. So magic didn't just appear one day. It's been rising and falling like a tide across eras. Which raises the real question. If magic was already here, what exactly caused it to surge so dramatically in Oo's current age? The answer isn't simple, because magic doesn't come from one source. Instead, it shows up in multiple reservoirs. Artifacts like the Ice Crown or the Enchiridion act almost like batteries, storing and channeling magic across centuries. The elementals embody raw forces of nature, keeping their power even when the world shifts around them. And then there are the catalyst comets, massive cosmic events that crash through history every 1,000 years, each time bringing a wave of change. And of course, there are the wizards themselves. In Wizard City, you don't need to be born magical to cast spells. You can borrow them, learn them, or channel them through robes and scrolls. Even Finn and Jake briefly tapped into magic this way, which shows that sometimes mortals can borrow power if they have the right tools. But knowing where it lives doesn't explain why its strength rises and falls across different eras. And that's where the real puzzle begins.
Hey, look.
So if magic has always existed and lives in artifacts, beings, and cosmic forces, why does it sometimes feel stronger in Ooo than in other eras? It's strongly suggested that one major driver was the Mushroom War. The sheer destruction, mutations, and chaos that followed may have left behind an Earth where magical beings weren't just survivors, they became the new dominant force. And then there are the catalyst comets. Every 1,000 years, one crashes through history, always bringing massive change. Many fans point to the timing, that a comet and the mushroom bomb might have overlapped, creating the perfect storm that transformed Ooo into the magical world we see. But there are other theories too. Some speculate that the mushroom bomb weakened the shell around Oo's dimension, poking holes in reality and letting magic seep through in ways it couldn't before. What we do know for sure is that magic can also collapse. When Bella Noche drained the world's ambient magic, everything fell silent. Proof that Oo's magical ecosystem can crash, not just grow. And if you look at Farm World, the alternate Earth frozen in time, the difference is obvious. No comet strike, no magical explosion, and almost no magic at all. But there's another angle worth considering, one that connects back to Betty's notes about magic, madness, and sadness. What if the surge of magic in Ooh wasn't only about comets or bombs, but about the sadness that followed them? The Mushroom War didn't just scar the land, it rewrote the baseline of the world itself. Fear, grief, and instability became the air Oo's survivors breathed, stripping the Earth of its man-made systems, exposing its natural state colliding with the emotional aftermath. The fusion of natural forces and human trauma didn't just revive it, it elevated it to even greater levels than the ancient elemental age. And that idea resonates outside of Ooh, too. Our most difficult experiences often leave us changed, sometimes in painful ways, but sometimes in ways that unlock new creativity or resilience we didn't know we had. Ooh's surge of magic is a reminder. In times of great change, new forces can emerge, powerful, unpredictable, and dangerous if misused. So we know magic in Ooh can surge, and we know it can collapse. Who or what is actually tapping into this unstable system, and why do they pay such heavy costs when they do? Not everyone in Ooh relates to magic the same way. How it's used, and the price it demands, depends on who's tapping into it.
A way to unclose the circuit of magic, madness, and sadness.
For wizards, magic is something you can train for. In Wizard City, it looks almost like a profession. Even Finn and Jake dabbled when they wore enchanted robes or borrowed spells, proof that with the right tools, mortals can tap into magic, which actually, they can be near unstoppable. Artifacts, on the other hand, are reservoirs with their own rules. The Ice Crown never runs dry, no matter the era. But that power comes with a cost. For Simon, it meant losing himself. Artifacts don't just grant power, they change the people who use them. Elementals and cosmic beings are different. They don't borrow magic, they are magic. Fire, candy, ice, and slime aren't learned skills but forces embodied. Still, even their influence waxes and wanes depending on the state of the world. And then there's dark magic. It tends to be more powerful, but always double-edged. Necromancy, curses, anything that twists life usually takes something back, whether that's energy, health, or even sanity. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. Every way of accessing magic comes with its own cost. And that's the part that feels most familiar to us. Every path to power in Ooh mirrors something we recognize in our own lives. Wizards show us the grind of learning skills, but also the temptation of shortcuts. Artifacts teach us that tools hold power, but they always change the person who uses them. And dark magic reminds us of the double-edged nature of quick fixes. The faster the gain, the harsher the cost. Ooh's magic doesn't just ask what you want, it asks what you're willing to give up. And in our own lives, that's not so different. And no one understood that better, or paid a higher price, than Betty. No story shows the dangers of chasing magic more clearly than Betty's. Unlike most wizards, she didn't stumble into power or inherit it. She studied it. She wanted to understand it, to map it, to master it, all in the desperate hope of saving Simon. Along the way, she discovered a pattern she called magic, madness, and sadness. She saw that the most powerful magic users were also the ones consumed by instability, grief, or obsession. And she was right. The more she dug in, the more she proved her own theory true. Betty's journey shows us what happens when you get too obsessed with powers beyond you. The deeper she went, the more it pulled her apart, until in the end, she fused with Gulb itself, pulled into the very power she was trying to control. Her theory wasn't just about individuals, it was about Ooh itself. After the Mushroom War, despair and instability weren't rare conditions, they were everywhere. And in that climate, magic didn't just survive, it flourished. But magic drawn from tragedy often carries tragedy with it. Those who lean on it most are often the ones carrying the deepest scars. And those who chase it without that grounding risk spiraling out of control, consumed by forces they don't understand. The lesson isn't that suffering is good, it's that power without grounding can unravel you. Betty tried to master what was never meant to be mastered, and the more she reached, the more it consumed her. For us, it's a reminder. Chasing control without accepting uncertainty, whether in magic, work, or love, can leave us just as lost. And that's the warning Betty leaves us with. Every path to power comes with a cost. At this point, we've seen the many ways magic exists in OO and the heavy costs it demands. But here's where fans split. Is magic in Adventure Time actually consistent, or is it pure chaos? On one side, you can argue it is consistent. Within each layer, the rules usually hold. Artifacts behave reliably. The crown always delivers ice. The Enchiridion always acts as a magical key. Wizards follow predictable training, borrowing and casting spells in ways we can trace. Even the elementals keep their identities through every cycle. But across layers, that's where everything breaks down. An artifact doesn't obey the same rules as elemental power. Cosmic forces like comets or Golb don't behave like wizard spells. Dark magic doesn't cost the same as learned magic. When you try to stitch all these together into a single system, the rules fall apart. So which is it? A consistent framework or pure chaos? The answer might be neither, or both. Maybe what makes OO feel so magical is that all these reservoirs, drivers, and costs overlap into something that behaves like a living system. And that brings us back to the mystery we started with. If OO feels like the most magical world of all, what really caused it to get this way? So why did OO, out of all the worlds and timelines, become the most magical? It wasn't just one thing. Not a single artifact, not a single spell, not even a single comet. OO became magical because all of these forces collided and fed into one another, like parts of an ecosystem. Artifacts like the crown and the Enchiridion stored power across centuries. The elementals embodied raw forces of nature, rising and falling with the world's balance. Catalyst comets arrived on schedule, each time reshaping destiny. And then the Mushroom War tore a hole through everything, mutating life and leaving survivors who carried magic forward. When those drivers aligned, catastrophe, comet, chaos, and survival, Earth wasn't just scarred, it transformed. Out of all the versions of Earth we've seen, this one surged with magic because its history forced it to. And that's why OO feels like the most magical place of all. Not because it has neat rules or tidy systems, but because it doesn't. It's unstable, overlapping, alive. Magic in OO behaves like OO itself, born from catastrophe, shaped by cycles, always unpredictable, and somehow still beautiful. And maybe that's the final lesson. Adventure Time doesn't hand us a neat rulebook for magic because life doesn't give us one either. What looks chaotic is often just overlapping systems we can't see yet. What feels unpredictable often carries patterns we only notice in hindsight. OO's magic is messy, unstable, and untamable, and that's exactly why it resonates. Because deep down, we know our own lives are just as unstable, overlapping, and strangely beautiful. And it makes all the pain worth it in the end. So, maybe the real answer is this. OO got so magical because it had to. And the more you try to pin it down, the more it slips through your fingers, just like life itself. So what do you think tipped the balance? Was it the Mushroom War, the Catalyst Comet, or something else entirely? Let me know your theory in the comments, because the truth is, the mystery of OO's magic is still wide open.